Yeah, I know. All I had was this belt. So Cobra Kai Season 1 tells the story of a struggling Johnny Lawrence as he reopens the Cobra Kai dojo and reignites his feud with Daniel LaRusso. What's up, guys? So Cobra Kai Season 1 and 2 just dropped on Netflix about a week ago. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about it once again. I was actually one of the lucky few that chose to give it a chance on YouTube and was telling everybody how awesome this was 2 years ago. But now that everybody's talking about it again, I've gotten a few comments, a few messages asking if I was going to do a review or a ranking or talk about this show at all leading up to the excitement of Season 3, which drops sometime next year. And I said, you know what? I love the Karate Kid movies, and I have so far really enjoyed Cobra Kai, so why not? Let's talk about it a bit. Like I assume pretty much everybody else that is a Karate Kid fan, and probably everybody else watching this video right now, had pretty much no faith in this show whenever they first announced it. First of all, the fact that it was going to YouTube was a huge red flag, because at the time YouTube was not really known for creating independent content or having TV shows of their own. And obviously, since it's gone to Netflix, they still don't have that reputation. But the concept itself about Johnny Lawrence starting Cobra Kai again and Daniel LaRusso and him kind of reigniting their feud, it kind of felt like a weird response to this viral story that was going around a couple of years ago where somebody kind of reinterpreted the events of Karate Kid, where Daniel was the bully all along and Johnny Lawrence was actually this misunderstood good guy. And while that was an interesting take on the movie, I never really bought into it. I always thought it was kind of bullshit. I'm like, that's kind of cool fan fiction, but whatever. And then it felt like YouTube just went, I'm going to do a show on that. Good luck. Well, shame on me, because starting off with the positives, Cobra Kai is actually a damn enjoyable show for not only fans of the original movies, but people who have never even seen the original movies. And my kids are evidence of that, because I was watching this show just carrying on as an old school Karate Kid fan, figuring everybody would walk past the TV not knowing what the hell I was watching. My kids immediately got engrossed, started watching it with me every single time I was watching it. When they found out it was on Netflix, I was like cycling through and they were like, oh, Cobra Kai's on Netflix, and immediately ran to their room and started rewatching Season 1. So the fact that it appeals to a new generation while appealing to the older generation is kind of like the ultimate goal of a show like this. And for me, it succeeds. It does a really great job at having the nostalgia, having the winks and nods, and carrying through a lot of the story and the character arcs and the themes of those original movies, especially the first one, while also kind of taking those themes and putting them into new, younger characters and kind of carrying on the legacy with these new characters, to where if you're new and you don't have this pre-established love relationship for Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence and their feud and all that stuff from the 80s, you can get attached to these new characters and carry on with the themes and the storyline just as well. I think pretty much everybody across the board gives pretty good performances. I mean, nobody's going for an Oscar in this show, but you have that nostalgia of seeing these two characters, Daniel and Johnny. Neither one of them have really acted much since the 80s. So there's always that fear of, okay, are they going to be able to step back into the shoes of these characters and it's going to feel real, it's going to feel organic, or is it going to feel like the old guys trying to hang out with the new kids and it's going to be embarrassing?
Hey! Watch your car, man. Get the hell out of here, loser.
And again, pleased to say that it is heavy in the direction of them falling right back into these characters. The chemistry is immediate. As soon as the show starts, it feels like we haven't missed a beat with these characters. I think William Zabka does a really good job at kind of towing the line of being still kind of that douchebag that we remember from the first movie and having a little bit of a dick sense to him, to where he's never left the 80s mentally. He still drives an 80s car, listens to 80s music, and has 80s references, and just has never really carried with the times. But as the show goes on, you see his heart start to come through. You start to see where he might have been a little bit misunderstood in the movies, while not taking away from how effective he was as a high school villain. And you start to see where he grows as a character. You start to see where he realizes some of the mistakes of the past and some of the things that he was wrong for doing, wrong for being taught, trying to kind of right the wrong by teaching his kids not to quite be that way, while still saying, you know, go punch that fucker in the face.
I'm gonna teach you the style of karate that was taught to me. A method of fighting your pansy-ass generation desperately needs.
And then even Ralph Macchio as Daniel. Same character, he still has that heart of gold, he still has those morals, he still has that very much like, he kind of takes the Mr. Miyagi role to a degree where he's the one teaching these lessons and, you know, saying we're not about fighting, it's all about defense, and you need to do this, wax on, wax off. But at the same time, you see some more of his flaws. He was always a flawed character. There was always times where he would do things that he knew was wrong, or, you know, he would stray from the path of what Mr. Miyagi set him on and would have to kind of find his way back through training and through his own trials and tribulations. And you see that here in this show too, to where you can kind of see how some of the events of the first film and some of the others from somebody else's perspective could show that Daniel wasn't always necessarily the best guy. He wasn't always necessarily right. And again, it doesn't take anything away from the first film. It doesn't make you look at him as like, oh, he was kind of a dick. You just look at what he did and you're like, okay, yeah, he was a high school kid doing some stupid shit, but I still love him. And then even the newer characters. So you got Miguel, who's kind of like the new Daniel to a degree, and then you have Daniel LaRusso's daughter, Samantha, I believe her name was, and then you have Robbie, who is the son of Johnny Lawrence. And then their paths kind of converge and go away to where Miguel is this picked on kid, you know, he's the nerd of his high school, and he finds Cobra Kai and finds Johnny Lawrence, and in a way kind of inspires him to bring Cobra Kai back. And now he's being taught all these hard-edged, like 80s mentality about, you know, walk up to the girl and just say, hey baby, and, you know, punch this dude in the face if he says anything to you. And that kind of molds him into growing as a character, to eventually kind of pushing him a little bit too far by the end. And then on the flip side of that coin, you have Robbie, who's very much in the bad side of town and the bad side of life. He's dropped out of school, he's a criminal, he hates his mom, he hates his dad. He's essentially a, 15, 16-year-old kid that lives on his own. And then he kind of gets brought back to the light by finding Daniel and kind of learning the Miyagi-Do karate.
Show me wax on, wax off.
Whoa.
This is what Miyagi-Do karate is all about.
So you see these two like divergent paths going opposite directions, which in a way mimics and yet goes kind of perpendicular to the paths of the original film, to where if you're new to the series, it makes total sense. And if you're somebody that likes the older movies, it's kind of like a cool little switch, and you're right along for the ride to see how these things are going to be different yet similar to the events of the first three movies. I was actually impressed too at how good some of the fight choreography was, because that was what I was worried about. Because, you know, the older movies, it's not necessarily meant for these big action set pieces. It was very simple karate moves. But you get here, and kind of the standout sequence of season one is whenever Miguel finally stands up to these bullies and just beats the shit out of all 3 or 4 or 5 of them in this lunchroom. And it's a very well choreographed scene to where it's just over the top enough. It's just grounded enough to where you're like, okay, I could see a dude training for a while, could be a badass, and he's kicking the shit out of these characters that are pieces of shit, so I kind of enjoy it regardless if it's over the top. But it's just over the top enough to kind of keep that little bit of that uncanny valley to where you're like, oh yeah, okay, this is a show. But I enjoy it. And above all, because I am a fan of the original movies, I absolutely loved all the callbacks, all the jokes, all the little wink and nod moments to the original series, especially between William Zabka and Ralph Macchio, to where their characters kind of reference events of the past in a subtle way, or there might be an in-joke like where Miguel's washing the windows. He's like, hey sensei, do you want me to wash these in any particular way? Nah, I don't give a shit. And even moments between those characters that aren't callbacks, but are just kind of cool to see, knowing where their relationship left in the original Karate Kid. Like the scene whenever they're driving in that car and they're going off somewhere, and then, you know, the REO Speedwagon comes on, and they're kind of like hesitant about enjoying each other's company, and then they kind of start nodding their head and they start singing the lyrics, and all of a sudden they're hanging out, and it's like, are we gonna be best friends? No, we're not. I also love the music that they use in this show, not only because I love 80s rock and 80s metal, and there's quite a bit of it here because William Zabka's character is an 80s fanatic, and he kind of puts a little bit of an imprint of that onto Miguel, and suddenly Miguel is talking about Rat and Guns N' Roses. But there's also some very cool callback songs from the original movie. And those moments are great because not only is it nostalgic because of the song, but it's nostalgic because it's played in a scene that immediately calls back to scenes from the first film and just makes you want to smile. Above all, where this show succeeds is that it's one of the rare examples where you can return to a property decades later, expand on the story, appeal to a new generation, and actually add to the original property and not take anything away from it. Moving on to the negatives, I really have two. They don't take away my enjoyment of this show at all. I mean, I've seen season 1 twice now, and both times I notice it, but I'm still along for the ride. I still have a blast with this season. One is that the show does lean a little bit too hard on young adult melodrama once in a while. It kind of feels like a teen show a bit too much sometimes. I feel like they don't need to fall into those pitfalls because the Karate Kid original story was a mature enough story to appeal to both age groups of adults and kids. And I feel like they carry that over very well here. They don't need to kind of fall into some of that melodramatic, typical young adult storylines. Again, small nitpick, but I do notice it. And the second one is that it doesn't really feel like a lot of time passes in this show. It doesn't really, unless I missed it, explain that it's been months or most of a year or anything like that. So the progression of the training of both Robbie and Miguel does feel a bit rushed by the end of it. It feels slow and methodical for the first 2/3 of the season, but when you get to the end and all of a sudden events are happening that put these two characters at odds, they have to go to the All Valley Championship, they have to fight, it seems like all of a sudden they're karate masters. It seems like Miguel, even not only karate training, but kind of his descent into darkness a bit because of the teachings of Cobra Kai, to where he kind of becomes a bit of a bully himself, is very quick. It's like between one episode that suddenly he's Miguel and now he's asshole Miguel. And then you have Robbie, where I almost feel the same way for his path to light, to where he kind of struggles a bit throughout the season. There's a few times where he feels like, I see that temptation back to the bad life, and you see reasons why he doesn't go there. But at the very end, whenever they're at the All Valley Karate Championship, and all of a sudden now he's just like full blown, just like Daniel LaRusso, he's Daniel's son now and has all the teachings and is going towards the light, and you get these center yourself scenes whenever they're getting ready to fight. It just felt too quick. It's almost like the season needed another 2 episodes to kind of flesh that out a bit more.
Okay, let's see what you got.
She's a girl.
And?
I'm sorry.
Are you okay?
Girl's a natural cobra.
But overall, guys, I enjoyed the hell out of Cobra Kai Season 1. I think that it was a great show. It was a great debut for these characters. It's a great return to a lot of the nostalgia from this series, which I'm a huge fan of. I will be reviewing Season 2. Keep your eyes peeled for that, and I'm very excited for Season 3. But just talking strictly on Season 1, a very good intro season to this new generation of Karate Kid with Cobra Kai. So if you're a fan of the Karate Kid movies and you want to see what these characters are up to decades later, absolutely check out Cobra Kai right now on Netflix. And hopefully if we get a physical release one day, go out and buy it. So what do you guys think of Cobra Kai? Are you a fan of the original Karate Kid movies, and does this translate very well to you and you enjoy this? Do you think it's a huge step down, it's an embarrassment to those movies? Or did you not like the Karate Kid movies but really like this show? That would be interesting. Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comment section below. Please like and share this video, hit that subscribe button, check out all the other awesome content on this channel that you will enjoy. And as always, guys, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.